Welcome back. It's time to have our quick press review. But before we start, let me first welcome our dear guest live here in the studio, Dr. Hala Enara, our political analyst of Saturday morning, the breakfast show. Ma'am, thank you very much for being with us.
You're welcome.
Have a very good day first, and we are going to start immediately. As usual, we do have plenty of headlines. Our first headlines are coming from Al Ahram, where we read, "We do not have the luxury of delaying the reform. Prime Minister Engineer Sharif Ismail says we shall not remove the fuel subsidy." In a press conference, the Premier says the recent economic decisions of the fuel and prices of the currencies is a turning point in executing the economic reform program. Still with the same issue, but from Al Akhbar this time, Akhbar Al-Yawm, where we read, "Liberalizing the pound floods the markets in seas of optimism and expectations. Important decisions to protect the low-income brackets and support the farmers." Ismail tells a press conference held in the cabinet premises that this critical stage Egypt is passing through prompted the government to face the economic problems through serious decisions and carry out an economic reform program. From Al Ahram and Al Akhbar to Al Masri Al-Yawm, where we continue with the recent economic measures taken by the cabinet, the government says no backtracking on the reform and we shall not resort to painkillers, starting work with the new prices of the foreign currencies at the airports, ports and customs. We do have more details in the coming report.
Prime Minister Sharif Ismail said on Friday the government did not have the luxury of postponing economic reforms a day after the currency was liberalized and fuel prices raised. Egypt liberalized the pound on Thursday amid a dollar crunch. The government also announced an increase in fuel prices, with low-grade petrol increasing by 50% to 2.35 pounds a litre, while higher octane fuel rose by about one-third to 3.5 pounds per litre. At a news conference, Ismail said Egypt did not have the luxury of postponing the economic decisions. For his part, Finance Minister Amr Al-Garhi said the country was facing a budget deficit of 11% this year. The government of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi is rolling out an austerity program. The country is trying to boost its foreign currency reserves. The government has proposed a reform package to narrow the budget deficit about 13% of GDP that includes cuts to power subsidies and a value-added tax to raise revenues. Subsidies account for 7.9% of total government expenditure, according to the Finance Ministry. Ismail sought to assure Egyptians, many of whom rely on government-subsidized food, that prices would not skyrocket.
Welcome back. Dr. Hala, there are not only normal citizens, by the way, but even experts or some economic analysts are making a comparison between the Thursday's economic measures and what happened during late Sadat decisions, 1977. Do you find similarities, or these decisions we are taking nowadays are harsher?
They are much harsher. Sadat's price rises were for piasters, but
then,
these even they were just piasters. But now it's a lot of pounds, and it's affecting everyone, because if you only oil price hike affects everything, affects transportation, it affects the prices of everything, starting from vegetables to everything else.
Amen to that.
And this will affect every person,
but
not the rich.
Of course, this sector is not touched by any means. But regarding
even
this,
by taxes, it's not touched by tax.
Yep. Regarding this, ma'am, as far as I know, that from the early mornings of from the late hours of Friday and early morning of today, Prime Minister Engineer Sharif Ismail had even conference calls and video calls with the different authorities or different cadres or leaders along Egypt, especially with governors, to go themselves to the markets, to go themselves to the places where there are crowds, and to control the prices in a way, and to make sure that the tariffs of the transfer of the means of transportation are not going to increase more than 15 to 20% by any means. Do you think that these procedures are only theoretical, or they can be implemented on the ground if we do have the will?
Of course, it's a theoretical, because starting from yesterday, all transportations raised their prices by 40%. And the government cannot control that, because the government itself is saying that the prices of metro tickets and public transportation cannot go on like the status quo.
We are not going to
like
say
the
that
present
they are
prices.
not going to increase,
the government
but the
itself
increase
is not
should be just from 15 to 20% according to the cabinet decisions. My question is, can we implement this on the ground if we do have a strong cabinet and we are going to implement laws and we are going to punish those who are going to break or to breach the law? Or this is only theoretical and can never be implemented?
I understand your question. It's only theoretical, and they will not be able to control it. And we are waiting for the government how much it is going to raise metro tickets, for example. If it is for £1 and it's increased for £2 to £2, this means 100%.
Yes.
We have to wait and see what the government itself is going to do.
Then, as you said, ma'am, let's wait and see. Back to Al-Ahram, where we read a failed attempt to assassinate the judge, one of the judges, to be accurate, of Morsi trial, discovering a Brotherhood terrorist cell in Aswan, and the paper publishes the incitement plans of the terrorist Brotherhood organization. Still with the same issue, but this time from Al-Akhbar front page, and we read, revealing the plans of the Brotherhood abroad to carry out terrorist operations, and failed attempt on one of the judges of Morsi trials and an army officer falls martyr. The Minister of Defense visits officers injured in combating terrorism, those who are now being hospitalized for treatment. And to the statement which was released by the Ministry of the Interior Ministry said police detained 5 leaders and other members of the so-called Hasm movement and others from the so-called Liwa al-Thawra, both groups that have claimed responsibility for assassination attempts on judges, policemen, and military officers. Worth mentioning that today the courts of Egypt are going to resume the cases or investigating the cases of assassinating late Hisham Barakat, the former general attorney. Ma'am, regarding, I don't know if you've seen, if you've watched the statements released by the Ministry of the Interior yesterday, which was talking about the terrorist Brotherhood organization cadres outside Egypt who are planning to renovate their system or their organization inside Egypt, and to make media fronts, to rename themselves to be the media fronts in Egypt. How do you see this? And how do you see this under the umbrella of the conspiracy around Egypt? Is this only the terrorist Brotherhood organization, or I cannot separate them from intelligence agencies from other countries all over the world participating in this conspiracy?
Of course, they are not separated from other parties outside Egypt and intelligence agencies. But in fact, I feel that our government is helping them by these price hikes.
Yeah.
They are calling people for revolution on 11/11. And then the government chooses this time and announces price hikes.
Yeah.
That affects everyone, practically everyone in this country. Is it the right time? We know that the International Monetary Fund imposed conditions to give this loan. The government kept saying that There are no conditions. There are no conditions, and every day we discover a new condition. But is it the right time to do this? We are facing a terrorist group exploiting everything. And we know that they are exploiting the poor more than any other one. Now we are impoverishing the poor. He's becoming poorer. Is it the right time?
But
They are terrorists. They don't care for the country. They don't care for the people.
Regarding the poor, all the officials, starting from the head of a state, from President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi to the youngest executive, they would say that the low-income brackets are not going to be touched by this. And to add to this, the subsidies are going to move up from 18 pounds to 21 when it comes to the subsidies provided by the Ministry of Supply.
Are you kidding? 3 pounds?
I mean, for each, it's going to do something. I mean, whenever it comes to the subsidies or the goods introduced by the Ministry of Supply, it's going to be different. When I know that the public debt is reaching 100%, meaning that if I were sitting in the chair or in the positions of this cabinet, what should they do?
They should recall the experience and the experts of every Egyptian working anywhere in the world. And we have many experts spread all over the world, and they are very successful. To ask them, they must have a convention, like a bank of ideas, a bank of creativity for Egyptians, to say their ideas. Not only think tanks are making researches, but we have many scientists and many experts outside Egypt who are willing to help their country. They must call these people to visit Egypt for a conference to discuss how can they solve this problem. We really have a problem, but we need every idea. We need the ideas of every Egyptian inside or outside. We must respect their experience.
Sure.
And we must do whatever they say, in fact, because we know that the conditions of the International Monetary Fund led to problems everywhere in the world, not only in Egypt.
Yes.
Wherever they go, they come with their problems, with social problems. There must be a social and a political dimension for decisions, because you are saying that Muslim Brotherhoods outside are helped by intelligence agencies and by a lot of money. They give them a lot of money, and they have a lot of money, in fact.
They do.
And to face them, you must secure the people inside Egypt.
The social fund.
First, yes. Social welfare. We must provide for the people. We must let them as a prey for these terrorist ideas and for these terrorists, because Muslim Brotherhood are terrorists. They have no problem in killing all the Egyptian people.
For me, they are mercenaries, paid to kill.
Yes, and the agencies employing them have no problem in destroying Egypt. This is their target. They are coming to destroy Egypt. They already destroyed Iraq. They destroyed Syria.
We are going to move to Iraq right now. God, this is another story, in fact. Thank you for your input regarding this, ma'am. But we are going to go back to Al-Ahram, where we read some regional news, as we do have of many regional news here. And it's about Iraq this time. Iraqi flag flies over 6 new villages in Al-Mosul. And Daesh answers to the new gains of the joint forces with a failed attack on Sharqat. Iraqi special forces launched 2 assaults deeper into Al-Mosul urban center on Friday, unleashing the most intense street battles against Daesh militants since the offensive began nearly 3 weeks ago. Many were optimistic about this offense to liberate Al-Mosul, because those who are behind this offense are mainly from the Iraqi army or forces affiliated to the Iraqi army. And others would say, no, it's not that, because I cannot be that optimistic with an army which for years is weakened by the military intervention by the United States. Which opinion do you prefer?
In fact, I'm not optimistic because where do Daesh people go when they are attacked by the Iraqi armies? They go to Syria. They don't go to the United States. In fact, they go to our Arab region. And when they are fortified, they go back to Iraq.
Okay.
They are not...
So it's musical seats, you mean?
Yes, of course. They are not destroying them, and they liberate a part, but they are not liberating all Iraq, and they are not liberating the whole area. This is a threat to the whole region. This is a conspiracy against the whole region.
Yep.
They are moving them. Now you leave Iraq and go to Syria. Now you leave Syria and go to Yemen. Now you leave Yemen and you go to Libya. They are moving everywhere according to the plans by these intelligence agencies you have been talking about. And all this is affecting us also.
Sure.
It's affecting Egypt. And we must be aware.
The national security of any Arab country is the national security of the whole Arab nation. This is something which I'm totally convinced with.
But unfortunately, some Arab countries are helping this, in fact.
Let's go to some of these countries you have kindly mentioned. In Al-Ahram, page 8, where we read, following the arrest of the leaders of a pro-Kurdish party and 11 MPs, an explosive-laden vehicle blows up in a police station in Turkey, killing and injuring 108 people. Turkish authorities arrested the leaders of the country's main pro-Kurdish opposition party in a terrorist investigation on Friday, drawing strong international condemnation of widening crackdown on dissent under Recep Tayyip Erdogan, the Turkish president. Only the international community is that satisfied with condemnations, and they are not. They don't go through the human rights issues and how this country is not a democratic one, and how the president of this country is having all the powers or all the threads into his hands, so others under him are only marionette. No.
This brings
standards here.
Yes, this brings us to the Western and American democracy. They insist that in Iraq there must be a kind of independence to the Kurds.
Yeah.
In Turkey they are killed every day. But the Western world is condoning this. They don't see, they are blind to this. They don't see what Turkey is doing to the Kurds. They don't see that Turkey is invading Iraq, that Turkey is interfering in Syria, that Turkey is playing everywhere and is trying to conspire against Egypt. It's working everywhere, and the Western world does not see anything. They don't see democracy. They don't. When they arrest journalists, the Western world do not see anything. When they fire thousands of employees, the Western world does not see anything.
Employees, military personnel, judges, academics,
they are
you
in
name
all
it,
aspects of life.
Yes.
They fire employees in all aspects of life: military, police, judges,
I do
press.
have 30 seconds, and since you have mentioned America, this weekend is going to be the top. I mean, the 8th of November is going to decide for you who is going to make it to the White House, Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump.
In fact, some people living in the United States told me that people are supporting Trump, not Hillary Clinton.
Tomorrow is another day, and we are going to see.
Yes.
Dr. Hala, Enara, thank you very much for your input, man. Have a very good day. As usual, I enjoyed my time.
You're welcome.
By this, we come to the end of our quick daily press review. Stay tuned on Nile TV International. Right after the short break, I'm going to be back. We are going to be back with the remaining part of our breakfast show.